Tyreek Hill's recent comments about wanting out of Miami left fans, critics, and analysts reeling. For a moment, it felt like the franchise had slipped on ice, teetering dangerously close to collapse. But here's the thing, Hill's frustrations didn't just materialize out of nowhere. Oh no, this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment tantrum. This was the slow boil of a superstar who came to Miami with dreams of glory and got stuck in a storm of mediocrity. The Dolphins? They're at a crossroads, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Let's dive into the chaos. When Hill spoke out at the end of the 2024 season, his words weren't measured. They were sharp, cutting, and filled with the kind of honesty most players avoid. What y'all heard was frustration, he clarified recently. I've been winning my whole life. Winning. It's what defines Hill. It's the oxygen he breathes, and when the Dolphins stumbled to an 8-9 finish, missing the playoffs for the first time since he arrived, it was like watching a fish stranded on land. Miami's decline wasn't just a failure of execution, it was a betrayal of expectations, the kind that twists the knife for someone who's tasted championship glory before. Think about it, Hill came to Miami in 2022 as the final piece of the puzzle. The blockbuster trade from Kansas City wasn't about a rebuilding project or taking baby steps. This was supposed to be a juggernaut. He was there to catch bombs from Tua Tagovailoa and dance in the end zone while the Dolphins bulldozed their way to the AFC East throne. And for a moment, it looked like that vision was becoming reality. The Dolphins made the playoffs in 2022 and 2023, with Hill posting back-to-back seasons of over 1,700 receiving yards. He was electric, unstoppable, the kind of player defenses lose sleep over. But 2024? Oh, it was a disaster. Injuries ravaged the roster, the offense sputtered, and by the time Week 18 rolled around, Miami was already on life support. Hill's numbers plummeted, 81 receptions, 959 yards, 6 touchdowns. For most receivers, those are solid stats. For Hill, it was an insult, a glaring reminder that the Dolphins had failed him. And when Hill pulled himself from the second half of Miami's regular season finale against the Jets, it wasn't just a protest. It was a message, I'm out, bruh. Now, you might think those comments were heat of the moment, but let's be real, there's truth in frustration. Hill's competitive fire doesn't just turn off because the season ends. He wants wins. Rings. Legacy. And if the Dolphins can't deliver, the clock on this marriage is ticking. Hill didn't just express anger, he laid down the gauntlet, demanding change. We've got to put some pressure on people, he said. Y'all got to fix this. Fix what, exactly? Everything. The roster. The culture. The execution. It's a tall order, and the Dolphins are staring down a mountain of obstacles. First up, the salary cap. Miami isn't just over the cap, they're buried under it. According to Over the Cap, the Dolphins are projected to be $11.9 million over the 2025 salary limit. That's not a pinch, that's a chokehold. The team's highest-paid players, Tua Tagovailoa, $39.18 million, Bradley Chubb, $28.66 million, and Hill himself, $27.698 million, are eating up enormous chunks of the cap, leaving little room for reinforcements. Free agency? Forget it. Miami isn't splurging on anyone unless they start moving mountains. Let's not forget the injuries. Tagovailoa missed 6 games in 2024 with a concussion and hip issues, while Chubb was sidelined for the entire season after tearing his ACL. When your franchise quarterback and one of your premier defensive stars are out, the margin for error shrinks to nothing. And yet, the Dolphins kept spiraling, unable to find answers. Backup quarterback Tyler Huntley wasn't the savior they hoped for, and the rest of the roster couldn't plug the gaps. Hill knows this, which is why his demands for Dogs aren't just about adding talent, they're about raising the bar. But how do you raise the bar when you're losing key contributors? Miami's free agent list is long and alarming. Tyrell Dodson, Emmanuel Ogbah, Jeff Wilson, Kendall Lamb, Duke Riley, Javon Holland, Braxton Berrios, Liam Eichenberg, Jordan Poyer, and Calais Campbell, these are players who've been vital pieces of the puzzle, and their potential departures could leave gaping holes. Can the Dolphins afford to re-sign any of them? Can they replace them? These aren't just questions, they're landmines waiting to explode. And let's not forget the elephant in the room, Tagovailoa. The Dolphins bet big on their quarterback, handing him a $212 million contract in 2024, but his health remains a massive question mark. Tua's talent is undeniable, but his durability? It's like walking a tightrope. One wrong step, one bad hit, and the season can spiral. Hill knows this, too, and while he hasn't called Tua out directly, his frustrations suggest a deeper dissatisfaction. Can Tua be the guy? Can he stay on the field long enough to prove it?